just want to give you the floor. I want you to tell me why
Okay.
cold calling is dead, and I will listen and then win the argument.
I don't know about that, Kirby.
That's right. Promo UPFront, money in the pit, the bullet, a full podcast.
Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising.
Nice.
Higher and higher, it's burning through to my soul. And that is absolutely how we're going to kick off episode number 215 of the Promo UPFront podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, let's call him the warrior of weekend work, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the Elvis Presley are you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing well, man. Doing well. I think historically August kind of picks up for us from a business perspective. We're seeing some of that. So that's exciting. But and you know what I always say, if I'm bored, I'm poor. So
Yeah.
things are good. Things are rocking and rolling. How about you, buddy?
Doing great. Thank you for asking. Super busy week getting Drew's home from his internship in Texas and get ready to send him back to college. And Mitch is heading back to college as well this week. So, it's one of those weeks where there's so many things going on. You want to make sure you don't overlook things,
Right.
which can happen when you're really busy. But you know what, Kirby? Shockingly enough, that got me to thinking. As things often do.
Yeah.
One of the most important but overlooked pieces of branded merchandise, categories even of branded merchandise, is mats. That's right, Kirby. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, what's the best way to get someone's attention at an event? It's with a branded mat. Colorful, eye-catching, those things that pop, and the ones that are the best absolutely come from our good pals over at Logo Mats. You know, Kirby, for 20 years, Logo Mats has been providing promotional branded mats of every shape and size. That's right, 2 decades of indoor, outdoor, and point-of-purchase mats that are bold, bright, durable, and one of my favorites, Kirby, made right here in the United States of America. Now, Kirby is a distributor. I know you've experienced the value of logo mats and how they demand the attention of people, even the distracted ones.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned the event stuff, and I think that that's spot on. That's great. But I think the place where I miss, and it's one of those where every time we talk about logo mats, I'm like, okay, I need like new business, like new businesses
Yeah.
that start up. They need those
Oh, yeah.
basic things in the lobby, on the
Yeah.
counter, and logo mats, it can be a perfect solution for them.
Well, and logo mats, it's not just gonna be a basic mat. They do full color. It's
Right.
amazing what they do. But once again, Kirby, I don't know how you do it. Week after week, you're stacking wins. You did it again. I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, here's something else you may not realize, Kirby. When you work with logo mats, not only is everything made here, right in the USA, like we spoke about, there's never a setup fee. There's never an art fee. They have a minimum order quantity of 1, and they aren't satisfied until you and your client are satisfied. So you want to learn more? Of course you do. Head over to logomatsllc.com and let the fabulous team at Logo Mats help you and your clients stand out where others are simply happy to blend right in. All right, Kirby. I want to thank you for having the courage to wear a branded shirt and podcast with me this week. It took a lot of guts to do that, frankly.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to be talking about cold calling, and I'll be out cold calling later today. So I thought I would represent with my brand.
Well, we will get to that at a time of my choosing or your choosing, but I choose not now. I did want to talk about this as we kick off the upfront section of the podcast, which I have the honor of hosting today. ASI has sent the Advertising Specialty Institute, one of our great sources of news, I'm in PPAI, did an end-buyer survey, and I don't know if you saw this.
I did not.
But I want to do some quick hits, things that kind of like, okay, yeah, that all makes sense to me. But then there's a couple of surprises in there, and I want to get your reaction
Okay.
and maybe talk through these. So just stop me if you want to make a comment, so we don't,
Yeah,
I
no, so
know
I'm
there's
excited. Yeah.
occasionally I can belabor a point. So go ahead and feel free to stop me. So this was a survey for end buyers at companies of 51 to 100 employees. Now, I would say that's probably a lot of distributor sweet spot, right? Those are
Mhm.
companies that are growing, looking to grow, looking to differentiate. So 98% of those end buyers surveyed who use a branded merchandise are happy with the return on investment. I loved that statistic,
Okay,
Kirby.
cool.
98%. I wonder who the 2% is that didn't like it.
Well, they didn't choose
Um,
wisely, and then they didn't distribute it.
right.
But other than that,
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. Okay, so here's one that was interesting. What are the end buyers' stated goals when they're giving out
Mm,
promotional products? 85% said brand awareness.
okay.
78% said increase sales.
Okay.
65% said increase loyalty. I think they could do multiple. They could
Sure.
pick multiple. 60% said thank employees.
Okay.
And then this one surprised me. Only 32% said lead generation.
Mm,
That number shocked me, that using it as a vehicle to generate leads was that low. Not that it's a bad or good, it just surprised me. Maybe it
yeah.
surprised you as well.
Well, so it doesn't surprise me actually. So a couple things. Number one, the
Yep.
idea that um, so you made a distinction in the first thing. It's like the people who were happy
Yeah.
in that first question.
98% are happy with the ROI of branded merchandise.
Right. And so one of the reasons that they're happy is because they probably had goals for the project up front. I think
Yeah.
that's where I'll see something like they
Right.
just buy stuff to buy stuff and they throw stuff against the wall and there's not a specific
Yeah.
goal. I will say that I think that people, I'll compare this to content sometimes, that
Okay.
like people will be like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to do with this piece of branded merchandise. I just know it's the right thing to do and I'll do it.
Right.
So I generally have to drive the conversation for them to be like, okay,
Sure.
we're going to do lead generation with this. Cause they're like, okay, how would I do it? It's a
What do I
more,
do with this?
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
more complex conversation, marketing sales conversation to do it. So it doesn't surprise me that fewer people do it. The idea that they're looking at it going, look, I just want to build a brand within my tribe
Right.
and do this. I'm like, okay, cool. It's great at that. So that's why I say I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, but that's why you're a very successful distributor, and it's successful distributors are the ones who think for their clients. Here, this is a great this is a great piece of merchandise. Here's what you do with it. Here's how you deliver it. Here's what you can do to follow up with it. How, you teach them the effective use of a marketing tool, in this case, branded merchandise. So I think you make an excellent point there.
Okay.
67% of end buyers say merch is very important to their marketing strategy. I liked that number.
That's
And I think
encouraging.
it is encouraging. And I think what we're seeing is more and more end buyers are becoming savvier or more savvy about the use of branded merchandise because of people like you and the content you provide, and also coaching your clients, things like that. Plus, I just think, there was a time when our industry had a little bit of a stigma of what tchotchkes or trinkets and trash or cheap plastic shit, or I think, over time things change. And I think we're seeing that evolution of people really realizing branded merchandise is absolutely not only a great marketing vehicle, it's an essential one.
Yeah.
So
Well,
having,
and can I hop in? Because I think it's like
you may,
you were very kind to me saying it's because of smart distributors like me, and that's very nice. I think it's
I
actually,
didn't mean it.
yeah. So number one, I think that the end buyers are starting to ask for more quality. They don't want cheap crap.
They
You
don't want
see
their brand
articles,
associated with cheap crap.
right? Which I'm excited about. I actually think,
Yeah.
we look back at the pandemic and COVID and all that sort of thing, and
Oh, yeah.
there was a bunch that was just exhausting and terrible. It's
Sure.
interesting though, because there have been some things, I mean, Zoom being one of them, and the ability to
Right.
do, meetings virtually and all that sort of thing. Those were benefits that we were forced into. I actually think branded merch took a big step up in that, because people realized, okay, we still need to connect with our team. We still need to connect with our customers. But if I'm going to spend $20 in shipping, I don't want to send a piece of shit. We might as well do something good. And it's like, my whole goal as a distributor now is to like keep people from backtracking on that. It's like, no, you learned what happened when we did good stuff. Let's continue to do good stuff. And so that's also, I don't know if it's a big piece, but it's a piece of it, I think.
No, I think you're right. We've talked a lot on this podcast about the pandemic changed a lot of things, changed everything, good and bad. So I think that's good. All right, here are some surprising numbers. Want to get your reaction, then we can
I love
move
it.
on.
This
But
is
I want to get
interesting.
your thoughts on these two. Yeah. So here's a surprise. These are numbers that surprised me. Maybe they shouldn't have. Maybe they should have. The respondent said they spend 39% of their marketing budget on merchandise. And I was like, whoa, that's a much higher number than I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, that's a big and sweet, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that is in a shift. I mean, that's a shift in buyers
Mhm.
starting to recognize the impact that it can have. Like, again,
Yeah.
I think that once you look at a survey like that, you're like, okay, these are people who everybody who was surveyed, 98% to everybody, right? Like that's everybody likes
So-
branded merch. So
Right.
of the people that was surveyed, them having a higher number,
Yeah.
that's the only correlation I can draw to it because it's like, wow, that's a big number.
I don't know what number I expected, but I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'd say 15% maybe
Yeah.
tops, maybe
Yeah.
20, but
Yeah.
39% is huge. Okay.
Yeah, that's
The
good.
most important benefit that a distributor can provide is saving time. 61% said saving time. And I love
Yeah.
that because that's what a good, in my mind, what a good distributor does, what a good salesperson does.
Yes.
You make things easier. You make it easier for people to get what they want. So
Yeah,
saving time.
it was so real quickly, and again, I don't.
No, you're
but
good.
this was really fascinating to me. So I went around and did sales calls with my team, probably a couple years ago. Probably was pre-pandemic, and
Yeah.
we asked questions like, "What do you love about the industry? What do you dislike about the industry?" Kind of to give them permission to tell us what they don't like about us, kind of thing.
Of course.
And I was blown away by the one thing that they all, not all, but a high percentage of them were like, oh, the thing that we find overwhelming is there's just so many options. And the thing that we like is that you sort of curate it. That's not their words, but that's what they were saying. They're like, instead of a million, you're giving us 5 options. We know they're going to be good. And I think as distributors, we're like, oh, it's our creativity. It's our this, it's our that. It's like, no, you're secret shopping for people sometimes. And it's like, that's really powerful.
Well, and when you can take a large cadre of merchandise and narrow it down, this is where distributors who are not successful, this is one of their points where they really fails. We can put your logo on everything. Here's a catalog. Tell me what you want.
Right.
Nobody. That's why people don't like the Cheesecake Factory. The only reason people go is because the cheesecake's pretty good. No one likes to go there to eat because it's a 99-page menu and it's impossible to decide because everything looks good.
Yeah.
All right, another number. The most important feature that they consider when buying merchandise, and this goes to your point earlier, 37% said the quality or durability of it, which I love. I think again,
I'm excited to hear that.
quality. Yeah, since I got in the industry 7,428 years ago, I've seen the quality of what we like. I've seen just from suppliers of quality, but more importantly, what end users want. They want better quality merchandise.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have much to add
Yeah.
other than I'd love to see that percentage even higher. It's exciting but it's like, yeah, I want that to be a.
And then here's the big one that maybe it's the big one. 76% are more likely to purchase through an e-commerce company over other ways, through other ways.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, so
when people go
I
ahead.
think the numbers bear that out, right? Like whether we like that, and I try to pride myself on whether I like the information or not. Does it seem true? I mean, 4imprint is ginormous for a reason, right? And I think for me, my guess is it depends on the project, right?
Yes.
For some of our end users, it's like, dude, I just want 12 t-shirts and I want them quick and I don't feel like having a big long conversation. I know what I want. I know what blah 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 blah. I'm gonna go get it. And I think that where we have the spot, like when we used to have a candy store a million years ago, like I didn't try and compete with Walmart on Hershey's Kisses.
Right.
Like we had to
'Cause you're never
compete in
gonna
a
win that
different place.
battle.
Never win. And so
Yeah.
I think that as distributors, that's the thing we have to figure out is like, okay, where can we compete and outflank them on certain things? And I think that's the challenge we face.
Exactly. I advise my distributor clients, like when they say, when somebody wants like just 25 t-shirts for their family reunion, or someone I'm trying to get their business, they say, well, here, I'll try you out. Give me 25 shirts for a family reunion. I send them to 4imprint.
Yeah.
They're going to do it better for you. They're going to do better than you will. It's not, it's not going to cost you any real business because that's not business you really want.
Right.
Because I guarantee you that order is going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass. I agree.
It's going to be a pain in the ass.
And that's the problem is that's the taste they're going to have in your mouth about your organization. They can't even get this right. Like, but it's not what you do, right?
And it's how you can also elevate the way you look. Say, hey, for something like this, this is where you ought to go. Foreign imprint, they're built for, and you can use language in your, to really kind of suggest where you want them to go. So, foreign imprint's really good for non-creative, real off-the-shelf, basic solutions like this that are low quantity. When you're looking for something that is more creative, that's more thoughtful, more intentional, that's where I can really add value
Yeah,
to
I
you.
love that.
And you really set the stage for what you want to be perceived as
Yeah.
when you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plus, you're solving
Because
their problem. You are making it easier.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And the thing is they might be better at it. Like,
Yeah,
you know
they
what I mean?
are.
Yeah. Because it's a
All
good
right,
company.
Kirby.
Yeah.
Good conversation. Hey, do you like games, Kirby?
I do. I do like games.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to pick a number and let's
Okay.
see how close you can get. Can you pick a number? Let's say give me a number between 4 and 6.
5.
Hey, way to go, Kirby. Promo Pulse is celebrating their 5th anniversary and their tremendous growth by giving away over $10,000 in marketing tools to help distributors grow their own businesses. Now, everyone who signs up gets a free idea generator for their clients. That's fantastic. 20 distributors, 20 lucky distributors, dare I say, will get an AMP starter email subscription, and one super fortunate, depending on your perspective, will get a grand prize, and they get a full AMP subscription, which is awesome, plus a one-on-one sales and marketing analysis from me and Kirby individually. Kirby's going to focus on sales. I'm going to focus on marketing and branding. You can decide if that's great or not. And plus, you'll get Kirby's book of Hit the Target, a hardcover copy. That's a grand prize, folks. So you want to head over to promopulse.io right now. Go ahead and pause the podcast. We'll wait. We'll be here when you get back. Just hit the pause. Okay, hold on. Great. Thank you for signing up. You went to promopulse.io and signed up. Sign up for that contest. And hey, kidding aside, congratulations to Jason. Congratulations to all the distributors he's helped. He's done such a great job really building something that's special. And so happy anniversary, Jason. Thank you for thinking of Kirby and I to help celebrate this wonderful, wonderful anniversary. All right, Kirby, does you have an AM topic for us?
Well, is this the moment, right? This is the moment that we talked about last week. I was telling Dustin off the air, I was like, this is such a typical thing. Bill makes an offhanded comment. I disagree with it because I disagree with shit Bill says sometimes on the podcast. And all of a sudden, we're going to have a debate. So
That's right.
You said last week,
Gauntlet was thrown down.
yeah, cold calling is dead. And I said, not so much. So what I would like to do, if this is good, is I just want to give you the floor. I want you to tell me why cold calling is dead, and I will listen and then win the argument.
I don't know about that, Kirby.
I will listen, and then we'll
let me put
discuss.
on my smart spectacals.
Okay.
Because I did make some
wow,
notes.
that's
So
like a superpower there.
it really is.
Yeah.
I don't like to intimidate people with my goggles. All right. So here's why cold calling is dead. Now, I grew up in an era where I made cold calls. My first job out of school was not in the promotional products industry. I had to make 30 cold calls a day in person, get business cards, the whole 9 yards. I did that every single day. You do not need to write this down like you're some sort of attorney ready to rebut that comment.
I'm just getting ready for notes.
Okay.
That's all.
Oh, okay.
You say smart things.
The...
I like to write them down sometimes.
Oh, well, let me know when I do that. All right. Here's the thing, Kirby. Things are very different now, as we know. Things change, things evolve, and I think over the last 10 years, it's been lightning fast, the evolution in sales. Today's consumer has more access than ever before. They can Google industry pricing codes. Half of them probably know industry pricing codes better than we do. When people have access, that leads to people gathering information. Okay, right?
Yeah.
When people gather information, they gain knowledge, which allows the audience to have direct and comparable choices. And we're at a point now where over 70% of purchasing decisions are made without any contact with a seller. People have enough knowledge to make those decisions on their own. Here's the thing. No one likes cold calling. I have never met a salesperson who is honest that says, I like cold calling.
Sure.
I've said it in my talks. Who here likes cold calling? Everybody raises their hand. I say, great. I know who the liars are in the room. Nobody likes it. People who are on the receiving end of cold calls don't like it. You're interrupting their day. It's always awkward. And why? So why is that? Why don't people like cold call? Because when you're cold calling, you're trying to sell something without first learning what problem you may be able to solve, you may not be able to solve.
Right.
And this is why cold calling has such an enormously low conversion rate. It
Right.
really, really does. So here's what I would suggest instead, Kirby. Here's what I would suggest instead. Prospect, but do it smarter, right?
Yeah.
You can give through content. That's something you're very good at.
You
You
too.
can, thank you. You want to have an idea of who your client is. Take some time and really understand who is likely to buy from you. I've said it before. I'll say it again right here. Just because everybody buys promotional products does not
Right.
mean everybody will buy them from you. Okay.
Right.
Understand that. And hone in on your messaging so people come to you. We are in a, instead of trying to push people where you want them to go, pull them in with your marketing, with thoughtful, intentional marketing. The other thing I would suggest is start caring for the clients you do have. Do you know which ones are the best? Do
Totally
you know
agree.
which ones actually have the most potential? And do you have a relationship with them to the point where you absolutely anticipate their needs? I would suggest don't chase new business until you really know the value of what you already have.
Mhm.
So, but the bottom line, Kirby, and then I would love to give you the floor.
Sure.
People love to buy, but they absolutely hate to be sold to. That's a quote from Jeffrey Gitomer, who is an old school sales expert. But I love that quote because it's absolutely accurate. When you're cold calling, you're selling without you're selling, but you're doing it without establishing need. You're doing it without establishing credibility, and most importantly, when you're cold calling, you're selling without establishing trust.
Mm.
Thank you. Cold calling is dead. Thank you. I approve this message.
Okay, so I assumed that you would be smart and thoughtful in this discussion, and there's a ton of things that you just said there that I agree with. I actually think, and you've heard me talk, like, when you look at the new business advertising that people do, like 90% of it goes for new customers, but studies will tell you that a current customer or an old customer 75% more likely to buy from you than the new customer, right?
Correct.
So
Right.
I'm with you, which is why you're not going to hear me advocate that your entire marketing strategy should be cold calling or cold outreach, as I like to call it, right? But at some point, if you're not doing any cold outreach, you're not going to grow. You're just not. And you said that people don't like doing cold calls. I 100% agree with you. I'm always like, when I talk to salespeople, my own salespeople, anybody, like, you need to give yourself grace because nobody likes doing it, right?
It's
And
awkward. It's
we
just an
don't.
awkward thing.
Yeah, we're
Whether
talking
you
to a
believe in it or
stranger.
not,
Right.
it's weird.
It is an awkward thing. It was awkward in kindergarten when we walked up to strangers, right? And we don't like rejection, and it hurts. So to be honest with you, we whine about it. And so and you know this about me, whenever you say blank blank is dead, I almost always bristle because it's almost always bullshit. Email's not dead. Blogs aren't dead. Cold calling and cold
Nope.
outreach is not dead.
Yes, it is.
It was never a perfect thing. One of the things that they like people be like, well, it used to work a lot better. It really didn't. It wasn't great even back then. We remember things better. Like, it's like high school was awesome. Like, we never remember that we didn't have any money. We didn't have any control. We had people telling us what to do all the time, but man, we didn't have as many responsibilities. We remember things better than they were. So I think, and this is I think cold calling is actually like content. And what I mean by that is we think that there's going to be a big response by doing it one time. The reality of it is cold outreach, we're not doing it enough. Like, you can do it 5 times and expect results. You're not going to get it, right? It's a numbers game. We want microwave results, and that's not how sales works. It's not how marketing works. And we also are like, like, it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because we haven't put in the work. We're not good at it, just like content. We say, well, blogs don't work, right? Well, no, the way that you get better at blogs is by writing more blogs. The way you get better at making sales calls and cold outreach is doing better stuff. The other thing I thought was interesting, I was thinking about this morning, literally on my run, that I read a study, and it's been years ago, so I'm not going to bear with me on this and give me some grace, but like, that I thought it was interesting. They said that in any moment in time, that about 3% of people are actively looking for whatever it is you're selling, right? If you're in a room for 100 people, about 3 people are looking for a car actively, right in that moment. and 3 people are looking for a house and 3 people are looking for a TV. It's
Right.
about 3%. But we bitch that the cold calling or cold outreach only has a 5%, return rate. Well,
Yeah.
it's actually kind of amazing that it has a 5% return rate.
Right.
So because there's only 3% that's looking for what you have to sell. So, and the only other rebuttal I would say to what you were saying is when you're doing cold call, cold outreach, you're doing it not thoughtfully. Well, sure, if you're doing it shitty, right? Like just because you're not doing it well doesn't mean that strategy doesn't work. It means you need to improve your strategy. So my big piece about this is that, of course, it shouldn't be your only strategy. But if you call on others while you're in the area and you stop in, if you mix it up with content, like I think of like, okay, maybe there's a voicemail drop, then there's an email, then I actually physically call, maybe then I stop by, then they go down and reach they find me on and read a blog about me, see a video. By the time we do finally hook up, I don't think anybody's given credit to the cold call, but it was one of the 13 touches. And so I'm saying that no, I'm not planning on picking up the phone, calling some stranger and selling them pens on the first try, but I never did. And so final thought about that is I don't think that we're that far apart on this, but I think if you are going to do cold outreach, lead with value. You're not trying to sell them on the first call. You're trying to gain a contact. You're trying to start to build a relationship. And you mentioned understanding your audience. Well, part of that's niching down too, whether that's a region or a specific thing. And so my argument is simple. And I said this about content. I've said it about other stuff. Just because you're not good at it doesn't mean it's not. It's broken.
Well stated, eloquent. I still think you're wrong, and I'll tell you why. Look, cold call. There's not. You said something, a couple things that struck me. And the one that is immediately coming to mind is just because you're not good at it doesn't mean it's not effective.
Right.
I don't know anybody's good at cold calling. It's a terrible way to go to market. It was the only way to go to market though before technology and
Sure.
before we really understand that the role of a consultant, a sales consultant, I hate the term salesperson, a sales consultant, the role is to help people get what they want.
Mhm.
That's what you've heard me say this. I believe sales is the most noble profession in the world because you're in the business of making it easier for others to get what they want.
Yeah, agreed.
And what bothers me is salespeople habitually pitch solutions that might not even begin to solve a client problem.
Sure.
That's
That's
what
bad
cold
sales. That's
calling-
not bad cold call. That's bad sales. That's
That
bad.
is bad cold calling. That is bad cold calling.
Hmm?
Because what you're talking about when you're saying cold outreach, to you, using my understanding, what you're saying is, and this is where I do think we are coming together a little bit.
Mhm.
Cold outreach is marketing. It's sending out a newsletter. It's posting things like a blog that your audience may read that you're trying to sell to at some point. That's cold outreach. That's fine. Maybe it's the term cold calling. Cold calling to me is very much of, I walk into a business, who here has the authority to buy promotional products? I'd like to talk to them.
Mhm.
Or my least favorite phrase I was ever told by sales managers, dialing for dollars,
Mhm.
that horse shit. That to me is what is dead because, we were taught from a young age when we got into sales, sales reps sell things and that requires hardcore selling.
Mhm.
And we think of it in terms like that. And so part of it is I'm going to cold call. If I make 20 cold calls, I'm going to
Mhm.
get 5 appointments. If I get 5 appointments, I'm going to be able to give 2 presentations. And if I'm going to give 2 presentations, I'm going to get a sale. So we have this weird math. Instead of focusing things on what is our customer acquisition cost? What is our average
Mhm.
order size? How what does it cost to retain a client? So here's where I agree with you that cold outreach, or making sure you are available, people are aware of what you do without selling, I have no issue with that. But cold calling is the way we have defined it, or it's been defined for us for decades, is absolutely dead. I haven't made one cold call at Brandvate. I have not picked up one. I've never picked up my phone or sent an email or any other type of hardcore cold call to any distributor or any supplier in the industry. Every bit of it has been.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Nope. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying every bit of it has been through give marketing, because you said it years ago. One of my favorite things you've said, we are in a give first economy. And I think you kind of chiseled that from Gary Vaynerchuk,
Yeah,
kind of,
thank you
if
economy.
I remember correctly.
Yep.
And we're in a give first economy. And then you made this great presentation about it, and it resonated with me. So I look at, if I give of myself, people will come, and
Yep.
they do. And I think I know the same applies. That's why traditional cold calling is dead. So maybe where we can find common ground here, and I'd love your thoughts, is maybe it's cold outreach. You have to get yourself out there. You have
Sure.
to let people know, if you're looking for X, I can do that.
Yep.
Absolutely. But what happens too often is people say, I bet you want t-shirts, and I know I can get you t-shirts. You don't even know if they want t-shirts. That's a horrible example,
100%.
but you get my point.
Yeah, and I do. But I still think you can do cold calls giving first. Like I truly believe that. And so, but I was curious about this. We both agree that content works, like your blogs that helped
Yeah.
you build your business.
Yeah.
Yes, right. So what's the
Yep.
close rate? What's the close rate on your blog?
I have no idea, because it's one of the challenging things in marketing as a whole.
Yes,
Because
I agree.
no
I'm
one,
just saying that sometimes the same thing is true when on cold outreach. It is
I
really
agree.
hard. But so when we say, well, all the returns on this, well, it takes a bunch of contacts in order to finally break through. It's not the first hit of the pinata, right? That sees the candy.
I agree. And what I was going to say was, I forgot, so it's okay.
I'm sorry.
But here's what I will say. No, don't be. Oh my gosh, don't worry about it. This is a good conversation. It's. Oh, I know what I was going to say. No one goes up to you and says, "Hey, I got to buy from you because that blog you wrote, man, did that resonate with me." It would be cool if people did that. They don't. That's just not how marketing works.
Right.
And I agree. It's not the first poke of the pinata that yields the candy. Love
Right.
the analogy. As someone who likes analogies, that's a great analogy. Here's where we're going to disagree. When you are cold calling, the way it's defined, the way we've defined it, right? That first thing, and let's say you do it in an exceptional way. You're just probing for a need. Do you possibly have use of this down the road, whatever? It's such a strange and bizarre interaction, generally speaking.
Sure.
You're starting the relationship off, unless that person is, I just bought some, I want some, I need some, or we were thinking about that down the road. Unless you catch them in that moment, one of those 3%, it starts the relationship off in an extraordinarily awkward way.
I'll give you the last word. I think this is one where we will end up disagreeing. So it's good.
Let's hear from you, listener. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
Your
exactly
dime,
right.
your dance floor.
And again,
Yeah,
we're 33 minutes in, so we might as well just hear from the audience.
Yeah, we might as well. I've got one thing I do want to
Yeah,
talk about, just because
yeah.
it's timely.
Bring
Okay,
it.
but yeah, drop it in the comments. Great debate. And here's the thing: we're really not that far off.
Yeah, I agree.
I think to me, it's the term I hate, and
Yeah.
the thought behind it. All right, Kirby, industry heavy podcast today. Quick, Kirby. And we might go a little long today.
Yeah.
ASI, the Advertising Specialty Institute, we talked about them earlier with their wonderful end user survey. So they are moving 2 shows next year to the weekend. And this has caused quite a kerfuffle on the Promotional Products Professionals Facebook page.
Yeah, I know. Clearly, I'm totally disconnected because I didn't know about any of this.
I only saw it in passing. I'm like, I'm not touching that. So Orlando will be January 4th through 6th, 2025. That's a Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Okay. So I'm assuming Saturday's Education Day, Sunday's the first show day, Monday would be the second show day. Okay. Fort Worth is going to be March 29th through 31st. Again, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Again, I'm thinking of Saturday's Education Day, Sunday show day, Monday is the last day of the show. Now, lots of people did get upset. Some said for family reasons, hey, that's time away from my family. Some said religious reasons. If you're a Christian, obviously Sunday is church day. If you're Jewish, for example, a lot of days, people, we don't work on Saturdays. That's a holy day for Jewish folks. So I saw both of those being tossed around. And then some, just because they like to be upset.
Yes.
Let's not discount that. So
I actually think that's probably 90%, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, that may be the 98% too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I want to get your thoughts on this. I have a couple. But go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, I am not one of the 98% that looks for things to be pissed off about. I look at whether or not an event is going to provide me value, and I decide whether to go based on that,
Yeah.
not on the days. That's sort of my last thought, to be honest with you. As a Christian, like if the event starts on Monday, I never travel on Monday. I travel on Sunday because it's just
Sure.
easier for me. So yes, it's still gonna be time away from my family, but it's a choice I make. I,
Right.
I think it's an interesting experiment. My overall thought is, sounds good. Let's try that.
Would it alter your um, thought about attending a show? If let's say you were
No.
planning on, let's say for years you've attended Chicago, or I'm sorry, not Chicago, you've attended Fort Worth. Just gonna
Yep.
use that example. You've attended ASI Fort Worth. Would it change that's all it's been. Let's say it's been a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now it's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Does that like, oh man, I'm not
If
going, or it doesn't matter to me?
if there is the only way that it would affect it is if I had a conflict on that weekend. If I have a golf
Right.
trip with buddies or blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But
Sure.
other than that, no, not at all. I either get
Okay.
value or I don't get value.
Yeah. No, I don't have, I have some of the comments were really interesting. Some were just like, I can't believe ASI would do this. And that's where a lot of the anger
Mhm.
was. I don't get angry about this stuff either. My initial thought was there's a reason ASI is doing this. Maybe it's because it's a grand experiment. Can we increase attendance? Can we offer more value? Will the show be better because it's on a Saturday,
Because
Sunday,
they
Monday?
don't have distractions from emails from the office because they can
Right.
really be all in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a thought of, uh, maybe it's something that's logistic. Maybe the convention that
Yeah.
the places they use are booked, and that's just the only time it can happen. We don't know what's at play. I don't know what the decision is, and it doesn't matter. It's the decision they've made. I think I see both sides. I think there's some benefit because what you said, lack of distraction. But I think where it's going to really be challenging is I think, like you said, people have plans. That's where people get stuff done, and I do think you're going to see probably the biggest hit on Education Day.
Mhm.
I think you're going to see a huge drop off on Saturday for Education Day because that's a day where it's kind of so suppliers are setting up, so it's mostly distributors in that audience.
Sure.
I don't know if you're going to see great numbers for education in
Yeah.
those. That's the only thing where I think it would suffer. I think it's especially for a lot of smaller companies. You're a small company, I'm a small company. Doing something on a weekend occasionally, that's great because it doesn't take me out of the office. It
100%. That's
doesn't.
what I thought.
So I think there's some value in that. So I don't know if it's good or bad. It's clearly an is, and I'll be very curious to watch it. But like you guys, don't look for reasons to get all upset.
API,
There's no.
API, real
Yeah,
quick. I heard this
yeah,
like yesterday on a podcast. It says API
yeah,
always, no, excuse me, assume positive intent. Just
yeah.
assume that we're doing it for the right reason. It's just, and when you do
Yeah,
that, it gives you less reason to be pissed off all the time.
yeah, and so I've never used that acronym. I like it. I've always thought, don't think the worst of people. People are
Yeah.
generally not jerks. They're doing things for the right reasons. I'll tell you who's always doing something for the right reasons. That's our good pals over at Logo Mats. That's right, Kirby. They are going to help you grab everybody's attention, no matter what event you have, and they're going to do that with colorful and eye-catching mats that pop. For 20 years, like I said, Logo Mats has been providing promotional branded mats of every shape and size. That's 2 decades of indoor, outdoor, point of purchase of mats that are bold, bright, durable, made right here in the USA. And again, never a setup fee, never an art fee, minimum order quantity of 1, and they're not satisfied until both you and your client are overjoyed with the mats you receive. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to be. So visit logomatsllc.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. Kirby, I hate to cut the podcast short, but I've got to go teach some sales to people how not to cold call.